What is up, comrades? So we are back with the gang of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, I can't even count on my fingers. I guess that's why my college GPA was 2.9. But anyways, so we've got some comrades from the global majority slate here, which Liberation has endorsed. Why did we endorse them? You should find out. And no, it is not just because they're almost the first exclusively non-white slate that we've come across in YDSA, but that was part of it. But no, we do not engage in identity tokenism. These comrades actually have a pretty baseline. So, anyways, let's introduce ourselves. I'm BRG. All of y'all know me.
I'm Glenn from Northwest Ohio.
Hi, I'm Issa from San Francisco.
San Francisco. Ange.
Hi, I'm Angel. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, but I am in the University of Cincinnati chapter of YDSA.
Riza.
Hi, my name's Risa. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm from YDSA Purdue.
Okay. Shrey.
Hi, my name's Sanshrey. I also go by Shrey. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm in Purdue YDSA as well.
All right. Jeffrey Lannister. I mean, Jeffrey Wu. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Jeffrey Jingwei Wu. My friends make fun of me for saying Jingwei. Anyway, but I'm also from Purdue, although I grew up in Cali. And I'm right now in Michigan, though, so I'm all over the place. On pronouns he, him.
I found out that y'all's mascot is a train. It's a little choo-choo train in Purdue. That's so cute. Anyways, we've got all these comrades here at 10 o'clock on a Sunday evening because we're all miserable fucks that have no life. Everybody in DSA is a miserable fuck that has no life. We derive enjoyment from meetings and meetings and meetings. So, why are you running to be YDSA? Because there's somebody that's been in NCC of YDSA. Because there's somebody that's been in leadership. Leadership is a lot of work. Like people think that leadership is just I'm going to go give a Lenin type speech or I get to draft all the statements. No, you don't want to know. You want to know what leadership is? Leadership is meetings, a shitload of meetings. So why do y'all want to go to a shitload of meetings? Why are y'all running the lead YDSA?
I will say, like, a lot of those shitload of meetings, a lot of it has to do. I will say, like, a lot of those. I'm hearing myself play back. I'm sorry, but it has to do with mentorship. So when it comes to the NCC term, a lot of it is like working with chapters, like boots on the ground, and like building up OCs to become like chapters. It's a lot of more support, and that's what I think of how the NCC should operate as like a supporting infrastructure that guides chapters into the direction that they want to go in, versus telling them what to do, as in like politically, like what political decisions that they should make, and more of like, hey, if y'all see that this fits into your campaign, like let's do it. Let's assess your vitals on like what's working for y'all right now and what's not. And I know a big thing that I want to focus on is like gaining membership and buy-in from people of color. We don't even have that many like HBCU chapters. I believe we only have one, and that's at Morehouse. And we used to have a chapter at Howard. So I want to like actually like support those groups and also community colleges, because when we like prepare for May Day 2028, and as long as we like want to keep on building up the multiracial working class, or like have it be reflective of YDSA National, that involves a lot of mentorship. Even though it's like meetings upon meetings upon meetings, a lot of it is mentorship, which I love to do.
Okay, yeah, definitely agree with with mentorship. Like that's what I find myself doing a lot in my chapter. I'm out of STL DSA. Like new comrades, they tend to come to me. I don't know if it's because like I'm the guy that talks the most about theory, but yeah, so it's important. Like that's also important for like the left and DSA in general, to like take these new comrades under our wings and ensure that they don't just join off these campaigns like Zoran or AOC, God forbid, president in 2028. But just to ensure that like these people that join as liberals do not simply remain liberals, because that would be a disservice to the socialist movement in the United States. I'm also really glad that you brought up the need for work at HBCUs. For example, I want to see us at Harris Stowe in my city, Fisk. There's a shitload of HBCUs all across the country, and these are historical institutions, and there's a reason why Trump is fighting to defund them and fuck them over, because these institutions were derived through struggle after the slavery era, because they did not want us reading, they did not want us studying, they did not want us having an education. Like they were literally during the slavery era taking advantage of the fact that a lot of our ancestors could not read. They would literally write on pieces of paper, give the bearer 20 lashes, and they would have, here, take this to town, and they would take it and they would get an ass whooping, because that was my grandma actually told me this story. She of course used choicer language because she basically grew up as a rural proletarian. But yeah, it's really, really important for working class black and brown comrades to be educated. Because like our enemies, they thrive off of our ignorance. So I'm really glad you brought that up. And going around to the working class side of things, community colleges, like a lot of the working class, regardless of ethnic origin or race, cannot afford to go to four-year institutions right out of high school. So what a lot of them do is they go to community colleges, and then they transfer for the next 2 years of their education. So for us as an organization that is a working class organization, it's really, really important to understand this stuff, to understand how people actually live. So I'm really glad that you comrades are centering that. All right. So
Yeah, also,
one of the
hello.
oh, hi Lexi. Anyways, so one of the main things that you comrades are highlighting and bringing to the forefront is there's quite a bit of racism in YDSA, and you comrades have actually faced a bit of blowback for that, which is I'm a big believer as a Maoist in like tell no lies, claim no easy victories. Like if there's some fucked up shit going on in our organization, in the organization that we all pay dues to and that we all work in, like that needs to be highlighted. Like we can't just hide stuff, because when you hide something, it comes back to bite you eventually. So you cannot escape stuff like this. So you all put out this very good little piece addressing the elephant in the room, the elephant within YDSA. So this is actually old data. I believe the Growth and Development Committee has done a new census, but like in 2021 we were only 4% black, and like as the most with us being like the most, I was about these. I'm not doing an oppression Olympics here, but basically in this country, like basically black people and indigenous people, we've had it the fucking roughest. So this, I don't even think this doesn't even, yes, it does. It counts. It has them as Native American. So in 2021, this was 2 years before I joined, 2% Native American, 4% black, 5% Asian, 9% Hispanic. So you have single digits for all minorities. That's pretty shitty. Not gonna lie, for a socialist organization. So why do you all think that is? Like I did a video on why DSA, why black people do not join DSA, but why do you all think that that people of color, that people that look like us do not join YDSA or DSA? Don't be afraid. Nobody's going to bite you.
Yeah. I believe our ideas and how we decide to like organize is definitely informed by like our like white comrades. Like no shade to them, but the revolutionary potential doesn't really lie with them. The arbiters of change will never be white people. If anything, it bogged down the movement, but it very much informs how we decide to organize. And despite like YDSA and DSA getting more diverse since 2021, and it's attracting like a substantially more diverse layer of the working class than it did in 2021, that means we actually have to like face the contradictions that is embedded in United States and just Western hegemony in general, of the fact that anti-blackness and white supremacy runs rampant. Not that YDSA has those things; it's more of like a subconscious kind of thing, and is embedded in the institutions and how we decide to respond to these institutions. And people who are usually leading these you know, like thinking about, okay, we're going to do in regards to labor, what we're going to do in regards to campus organizing, a lot of the time are like white cis men. And so as we occupy more space, it's about time that we feel empowered to speak up and speak out on decentering whiteness and white thoughts, because a lot of the time it is scary when it comes to like how we decide to, like when we just make decisions and stuff. It's just very like entrenched. I think Raisa could definitely go a little bit deeper on this. I'm gonna pass it off to you.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what Angel touched it on the nose, but I mean, look at what's just happening to us, like just coming out with our own experiences. Like, we don't have Black and brown people in this organization because we literally push them out. Like, it's been such a struggle to just like fight in this election and in this race just for us to get a seat and a voice. And it's like, in doing so, we've been like just a pushback. I've had my white comrades ask me for more testimonies, for more statistics. Like, we have white people claiming to be people of color and then dismissing our experiences. Like, there's just a lack of like understanding when it comes to like racial issues, especially how race plays when it comes to like capital and also just within our organization. Like, it's gotten to a point where like even just like us on our slate, we came to a point where we're like, guys, like this is why people of color leave our organization. This is why there's a lack of political development when it comes to our BIPOC comrades. Like last NCC election, there was not a single Black organizer that ran for NCC. Now, the majority of them are coming from our slate, a slate of people of color that are speaking to our experiences from like microaggressions within, you know, our chapters, but also just like not being advocated for or represented in national spaces. There's a convention and a conference, 2 events that National YDSA holds for, you know, YDSA members. The financial barrier to entry is so like, it's just a barrier for people of color to enter. We have to pay for our own flights, our own housing, a registration fee, like $500. Like it's like more than that. It's more than that. I just spoke to a Black comrade a few weeks ago who can't come to convention anymore because of the cost, because she's studying to be a lawyer. And like the cost of taking the LSAT is more important than being able to come to convention.
So
like,
do your like usually what some chapters will do though is like for example, for a convention last year, like we were all reimbursed, all of us that was delegates. This was a big DSA though. So like y'all's YDSA chapters or like even your parent DSA chapters don't offer you all like reimbursements or stipends to attend these conventions?
It also varies chapter by chapter. Like I know, for example, Purdue YDSA, we don't have much support from our. I was about to say like we don't have support from our parent DSA chapter for like anything financially or necessarily.
Sorry, I'm
with,
lagging.
like,
I've been said that. That's my bad.
You're good. Yeah. No. So yeah, like a lot of chapters are not supported by their parent like DSA chapter either with like resources and like on the ground support, but also like support financially. And for example, our chapter, like we don't get funding usually, and it took us even a few months to get money for I think WinterCon this year, which we like had to request from them and then get. But yeah, there needs to be a lot more support from national that can do that directly, because the money that YDSA chapters have is directly based on the support they have from their DSA as well. And because of that, there could be a barrier for funding chapters and individuals to go to convention or conference.
Yeah, I remember when I was a delegate for STL DSA last year, I was like beset
If I
by
can, I would like to add on to what Shrey had said. Our DSA chapters do, support us a lot of the time, and sometimes our campuses does, but sometimes the chapters just doesn't have like really good support apparatus, and it's just sometimes just laid out in the budget to like support us on these things. So some chapters can, some chapters can.
and you're what the fuck is that noise? Oh,
Oh, me, bro.
it was Pablo. I found the culprit. Go ahead, Ange. I muted you thinking it was you. Y'all, you're good. Go ahead. Anyways, going back to what I was saying, I remember a bunch of like YDSA people at convention last year, basically like bombarding the big DSA delegates. It was like I did not know that until I went to convention last year that like y'all's budget is literally dependent on what we say it could be. Like you all do not have your own budget, and that's like so y'all are basically a colony of big DSA. That's wild. But I mean, especially like a lot of the work that has made DSA like relevant to a broader base of people, like the encampments, for example. A lot of that was done through YDSA. So like, there's no reason why you all should not have your own fucking budget. That's crazy. You all should not be dependent on big DSA. Yeah, technical difficulties. You figure a bunch of Zoomers would know how to use the internet and not make a whole bunch of noise, but I guess not. Anyways, yeah, I definitely support a YDSA tech budget. I'm kidding, but anyways, so yeah, just from what I've like heard about how people have been treating you guys, it's like people are apt to be like, oh, they cry racism about everything, and like this isn't just a YDSA thing. Like I've actually experienced the same shit. Like when I'm a victim of I hate calling myself a victim, but when I experience like microaggressions, racist or otherwise, like I'm like people are like, oh, are you being one good thing that they do to gaslight or Darvo their way out of this shit is like, oh, you're acting in bad faith. I'm like, bro, you literally implied that I'm stupid because I disagree with you. That's bad faith, and like people are not aware of the various stereotypes and aspersions that are cast about non-white people's intelligence in so-called progressive spaces. That's why political education is so important. That's actually why I'm so glad that you comrades have it as a key point in your program and on your platform. Angie's back. Go ahead, comrade.
I just want to say I'm sorry if I cut anyone off. I have like 9 people in my house, so this Wi-Fi is getting stretched thin. We can like just move on. I'm sorry if I could like accidentally cut anyone off. It was like lagging on my end, and I couldn't even hear myself.
I've been there. Anyways, so what do you all think y'all's chances of winning are? Like, it's a pretty crowded field. From what I know of the makeup of YDSA, I was never in YDSA, but I know that that Bread and Roses is pretty has a pretty heavy representation. There's some groundwork people. You've got I believe there's a Reform and Revolution candidate. You have Springs of Revolution, of course, who you guys are allied with, who you all cross endorsed. Really love them. I'm actually a member of their network. So yeah, there's a lot of motion. So, like, why did you all form your own slate as opposed to like run with, I don't know, Bread and Roses or somebody? Like, give us the tea. Like, how does this YDSA internal show go, and like, how do you all plan on maneuvering to to victory. Because we want to see your whole slate win. That's why we endorsed y'all. But like, how are y'all gonna do it?
So, okay. I'll first speak on like the reaction we've been getting. So I think a lot of us here have been kind of taken out of our context or obfuscated of our points, especially during the debate because of the format. At least I have a lot of problems with the format. Like they were basically like there were a couple of people that were making critiques and the thing is, like, you only actually get 30 seconds to respond in my case, which is, I think, ridiculous. But it's also just like even talking to people, like they're like, oh wait, I had a completely different idea of who you were before this conversation. And I'm like, oh, like what have you heard? And then like, oh, they won't say, but like it's like people trying to like take your idea and like making it sound like this ridiculous again, like they try to diminish or like make it sound way crazier than it actually is. And so I think right now we're just trying to like correct this kind of obfuscation. And so at least first, like right now what we're doing is trying to call individual delegates from certain chapters to actually like explain why we're running and not like from the words of someone else, right? And it is frustrating still because like you have to break through that initial barrier of them like being very like defensive or not even just like trying to like ask all these questions because they heard all these things about you. But like I think yesterday I was able to have a very productive conversation with the delegate, and at the end it was productive. So that's like at least our hope for our current strategy. If anyone else wants to add on.
I'll add on to that. I think that a lot of the you made a good point like about earlier, like about how they will like kind of misconstrue what we say and then like base it in like the name of a good faith, or they say we weren't in good faith, but they'll call what they said good faith or comradely. I hate when they use that shit because they'll keep it comradely. But I think a lot of the people that we're running against, we do have to like acknowledge the sort of upper hand that they have with Bread and Roses and Reform and Revolution. And I think that if we have a bunch of people, we kind of get like a disadvantage. And I do think that the debate format did kind of set us up for a disadvantage, but I also think that a lot of the people that were there have like a name and then are established within their chapters or established within like their portion of YDSA. And it did kind of put us at a disadvantage because like Jeffrey said, you got people who don't really know much about us, or a lot of people who have like their own idea of us through other people or through like other things that they've heard beyond like just talking to us. So yeah, like I think that we do have to do like a lot of individual and more like personal, I guess, conversations with the people that are like the delegates, the people that are supposed to be voting for us. But it's a lot of work, and I think that's a lot of work where like the problem lies, and where a lot of like the disdain or something for like our slate or something. And I think a lot of the things that have come out, it's been like just misconstrued and just misunderstood. But I think that a lot of the people that are running against are BNR or BNR affiliates, or like people that like they are associated with, and like Reform and Revolution too. So I don't know. Our chances, I'm not going to answer that, like what I think our chances are, but I think they're high. I think they're high, and I think that the only people that we have not heard, and no shade, I think that, the people of color, the people that look like us, we've been hearing, some criticisms. We've been hearing like actual good faith criticisms and like genuine questions, whereas the people that aren't, it's kind of the opposite. It's kind of the opposite. But if we are in a YDSA where the people look like the opposite, it's just, I don't know. It just puts us at a crazy position. But yes, if someone else wants to take this away.
Yeah, if y'all don't mind, I butt in. A lot of people were going up against, most of the people we're going up against is like labor pilled. And labor is like super important, but my big critique when it comes to like our labor work within YDSA is that it is not reflective of the multiracial working class. We had a strong YLC for years now, which I love, but they struggle in the diversity department, and especially with like relating their labor efforts to like all campuses is a struggle that they've been going through. I know with this last compendium, the resolution that focused on like rechartering the YLC puts a lot of emphasis and focus on the multiracial working class and having that buy-in with like other industries. But I also think it's important to include essential workers, you know, people who work at Walmart, people who work at Wendy's, because a lot of people who work there are not only non-student youth, but also people of color. If we're able to like organize them and put our like labor practices and labor work towards them, whether that's through like training center and focused on them, it will like increase the buy-in. And I feel like the people who are running on the labor slate, BNR, the labor independence, and those people such, even though they have the work behind them, they're lacking in that area that we're trying to, you know, bring onto the NCC. I also value the importance of diversity everywhere, and that includes the NCC, not just in diversity of like, you know, color, but like also diversity in thoughts and opinions and experience. We bring a different type of experience to the NCC that not everybody else do. You don't want a whole candidacy of lineup of just like labor people. You want to have people who know about divestment and direct action, where we see our SR candidates in. You want people who are informed with labor. You want people who are informed on like, you know, really building like coalition and like local solidarity and like having that person to person contact, which like even though we may lack in the department of being super involved with like national committees, I know personally I have been involved with the strategic campaign committee and the cohorts, and it was like very useful, especially like the ideas and stuff that I would hope bring to other people. And I just want to maximize my sleigh, and I want the whole slate to maximize our joint sleigh. Like we really like get something different. But yeah.
Yeah, I was really impressed when we had the endorsement meeting with the comrades, Liberation and the Global Majority slate, and like you all were just literally just probably about 15 to 20 minutes for all of you, just rambling, not rambling, but rattling off your DSA and outside organizing resume. I also really like the fact, Angel, that you brought up non-student youth, because that's something that that's kind of a blind spot, not just for YDSA, but for big DSA too. For example, I keep hearing talk about these general strikes. Okay, first of all, just maybe you can call me Unc, you can call me old school, whatever, but a one-day protest is not necessarily a general strike. If you ask the boss for permission, it's not a strike. A strike is when you don't ask for permission. I'm so old school. I believe that proper strikes have to be broken up by the National Guard. But anyways, um, like, okay, so if I'm looking at a general strike, because we're supposed to be in the process of helping to plan one for 28, right? So are we getting migrant workers? Are we getting people that work at Amazon? Are we getting people that work at McDonald's, Burger King? Like, are we organizing the unorganized? Like, because right now, from what I see, and it's not just DSA, it's the left in general. Ewok is dope. I love Ewok. But like, it's generally just from what I've seen, labor work seems to amount to, okay, I'm gonna go get a job and hopefully I get hired on by a union. Or let's just see what Sean Fain has for us to do. Like, we're the largest socialist organization in American history. We really don't need to be tailing along behind and following anybody. So yeah, that's just what I whenever labor work comes up, I have to bring that up because like dare I say, I don't even see any like I see a lot of talk about a labor strategy, but I don't see it bearing any fruit. I just see the same few people all the time talking about it. And like I'm a big Song of Ice and Fire / Game of Thrones fan. I'm gonna watch House of the Dragon after this, but like words of win. I want to see some action. So okay. But
And
go ahead,
can I
Tamara.
real quick?
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I just want to add on like to your statement because I found that like very like pertinent and important of the fact of like, okay, what else can we include in our labor strategy that can like make sure everybody is safe? And I think like during the debate, there was a lot of ragging on of the topic of mutual aid from our comrade Jeffrey, which I thought was very disingenuous because very clearly, obviously meant mutual aid in the actual instance of mutual aid. Okay, what does that look like? Strike kitchens, also bail support, because that's what we're gonna need. Our comrades at like other chapters who like did the encampments and stuff, who are a part of like big pro-Palestine protests, would like get locked up, and guess who was helping them? SJP, not YDSA, not DSA. A lot of times they were like, you know, last to respond or not able to respond. And so I find it important that like, yeah, mutual aid is emphasized on the national level, but a frameworks of supporting our members. So when we are ready for May Day 2028, we can support people who are afraid of losing their job, who will like literally become a scab to make sure they can afford to feed their family. If we, you know, kind of plug those holes before they even happen, then it won't be something that we're going to get caught on our back foot for. And I feel like none of the labor people have any really even spoken about that. So
Yeah, a lot of just from my own experience with comrades that do that. I don't like casting aspersions on people in my own organization, but a lot of these people, they just bury their head in books. Just bury their head in books. They bury their heads in the past. Like they don't know how shit be for folks nowadays. Like you can talk about Blair Mountain, you can talk about the sit down strike in Flint, you can talk about all this shit that happened 80, 90 years ago. But like right now, okay, average working class person, they ain't studying no goddamn strike. They studying about how can I feed my family? How can I not get fired? Because work is getting harder and harder to find. And like we have to fix it so that they are ready to talk about strikes, so that they are ready to talk about collective action. Because right now, like you go up to somebody talking about, hey, we're gonna do a general strike. They're gonna ask you, you gonna feed my family? You gonna feed my baby? Who gonna pay for their daycare? Okay, like yeah, you talk about okay, Zeron got free buses and he got free daycare. Okay, I don't live in a person will be like, okay, I don't live in New York. I live in fucking Toledo, Ohio. I live in fucking Fort Wayne, Indiana. Where the free bus at? Where the free daycare at? Out here, we ain't got free shit. And it's like it's a disconnect from how a lot of people in the Midwest and how the South live. And they theoretically are in solidarity, but they don't want to listen because they think they know every goddamn thing. So I'm really, really glad that you comrades are highlighting that. Patrick is in my chapter. He says we got free data center. Yeah. Oh, you have some fans. People seem to really fuck with y'all. That's one thing I've noticed. People seem to like y'all. Maybe it's just because folks are tired of having a whole bunch of milk on the NCC. Milk turns my stomach, but yeah, I've developed lactose intolerance after turning 30. It'll happen to y'all too. Y'all laugh. But anyways, all right. So this debate y'all keep talking about, I watched parts of it. I don't even think it's up on YouTube yet, but I watched parts of it, and like a lot of those, there was a lot of like, I just saw microaggression and passive aggression after passive aggression. Like a lot of this shit was just fucking rude. Like coming from a black family that's like one generation out of the South, I was taught like, hey, this is how you talk to so and so. Like that type of rude shit, that's sarcasm, like that type of stuff is not like that's not how I was raised to talk to, at least talk to other black people, because that'd get me punched in the fucking mouth. But like just the way that like a lot of white comrades talk to comrades of color, or even other white comrades, or even regular fucking people are trying to organize, just fucking like you really think that folks are gonna pay money to be in this organization and you just told them that shit? Like there's a sense of a lot of white comrades that the world owes them something. Like nobody owes you shit, bro. But go ahead, comrade.
Oh, sorry, was someone else gonna speak? Okay,
Right.
well, I'll just say like I think I'm gonna be really nice, and just say like it's not any individual's fault for acting the way they did. I think it's like just like a mindset of like oh, this is going to be like a very difficult thing, and sometimes they're being a little bit dismissive, like they're saying like, oh, but how are you going to do this? You know, how are you going to like? They always want to find problems with what you're saying, and then like instead of like looking for solutions to like a very obvious problem, they will try to just like it's also like political. They don't want you to succeed in expressing your ideas, and so they'll like pick anything instead of just trying to help you like fix the problem. You know, I think that's like the reason why we got such a weird reaction, because it is just like, oh, it's a debate. Like we have to like make it sound like Jeffrey's, you know, like doing okay. I shouldn't say the comment because that would be too much too inflammatory. But I'm trying to tone myself. But you know, it's just like it's just that kind of attitude that leads to those comments. I'm trying to be super nice. Okay.
I can be super mean. Now I do think honestly, a lot of people don't want to hear the truth, and the truth is that some of y'all are whack, bruh. Some of y'all are okay with a lot of shit that goes on in the organization, and nobody wants.
Damn, he's so mean he froze.
The power of anger.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I could definitely tell that Pablo is basically y'all's version of me.
I'll be real. I've noticed in my chapter the way white people be talking to each other. I'm like, y'all are crazy. You're not going to talk to me like this. I was talking. I'm the co-chair of San Francisco chapter, and I was talking to my co-chair. Someone got like really testy with her, and I was like, I don't like the way this comrade was talking to you. I don't think that like she's a white woman, but a woman, a trans woman, and like I don't think that they would talk to her the way that like talk to me the way that they talk to her. I just don't understand it, like the way that like that aggressive communication. It's weird.
Oh no, they snatched up Pablito just like Escobar. Lexi, go ahead.
Oh, yes. Yeah, sorry. Like, I had a question about about YDSA. Is there organizing surrounding like anti-military recruitment? And it's like, what's that looking like on that front?
Not from what I know of. There's not none at my school, and from based off the national conversations, it's not happening anywhere else. And that is like goes to show like our blind spots. We should be, you know, if we're working towards with our strategic campaign of getting like all these companies off of our campus and to like break those contracts, you know, to abide by BDS and stuff, we should be working towards, you know, fucking up what ROTC and got going on and fuck up their recruitment strategies. That is definitely one of our blind spots. So like thank you for like calling attention towards that. And like I said, like the labor people that we have, like I don't think they would have even like that would have definitely been an afterthought. And that's the common theme that you see within like these spaces, like these organized spaces, not just YDSA but DSA, where like those other situations are commonly an afterthought. Usually that centers around people who are more easily and overly exploited than like the people who are representative of the chapter.
Speaking to like speaking to Lexi's question about like anti-military organizing, yeah, there is some on like specific campuses. I guess it could be tied into ICE, like ICE organizing with kicking ICE off campus and targeting those companies that are part of the military-industrial complex or the prison-industrial complex and or supporting ICE and getting those off of our campuses. But for example, specifically at Purdue, like there's our school is first of all like a big feeder to the military-industrial complex and to war in total. It's like a feeder to like aerospace engineering at like Lockheed and stuff like that. And a big part of our schools or the military's recruitment at Purdue is through the career fairs, which we have actually like tried to disrupt. And I know at other campuses around the country, like I think YDSA Cornell at some point has also shut down like a career fair, which of course, as implementation, like if we're able to implement direct action into more campaigns and provide more support for chapters and individuals to do direct action on campus, we can be able to disrupt more of these events and do more of like a direct impact on anti-war organizing, like on our campuses.
Yeah, like I feel like YDSA is sort of like a is sort of like better equipped compared to DSA. Uh, I am in terms of reaching people who are, feeling like they have no other option but to join the military, be, because because I would assume people would be more willing to listen to and take advice from like their fellow peers compared to like outside organizers, people that they don't know.
I definitely think the people running for NCC that would be like most willing to like take up that kind of work is us, SOR, and like even like the labor independents, the uncaucused people versus people who are affiliated with groundwork or BNR, because they have an agenda that they want to get done and a wider vision that they want to see done in YDSA. So people who are viewing, that's why you should vote for us.
Okay.
I've actually
So,
disrupted some like Lockheed Martin Raytheon events, and like one of the tactics that we used was like use on our phones, having like pictures of like dead Palestinians and holding it up as people were walking in to like have these conversations with Lockheed Martin recruiters, and like it honestly worked. Like there were roughly seven people that walked in, saw our like signs and like banners with like dead babies on it, and then like they were like, oh shit, and then walked back out and left. So like I think tactics like that really do work, and I think it's critical, especially on college campuses, because that's where you can shift the culture before people enter the workforce. I think especially in our organization, we treat people like a political block. Socialism is a project of changing minds. Like regardless of the outcome of this election, what we have done these past few months of like bringing these racial contradictions to light, bringing the like voices and like the experiences of people of color in this organization, like it's really telling, just like the responses that we've gotten back and the amount of pushback.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like having their headquarters bombarded. Or, like, Lenin said that you will be the victim of delusion and self-delusion in politics until you find the class behind it. And a lot of people are unwilling to wrestle with their own class background. Like they try to, for example, they tried to, I don't know, wipe out their own white guilt by being hyper militant on Palestine and nothing else. And like you have to consider how all this shit is connected. Like, or they become what we call workerists. Like I call them right opportunists, because like the workers, they can sometimes have backwards positions. Something in my fucking eye. But they can sometimes have backwards positions. They can, for example, workers at Lockheed Martin. The International Association of Machinists, the Machinists Union, literally supports increased defense spending. Why? Because it keeps their workers employed. That's literally the only reason. And I've brought this up to some of our comrades because we have a couple people that work for Boeing in St. Louis, and they do a lot of the military shit. And I'm like, how do you square calling yourself a socialist with the fact that you make shit that, like, why did you all walk out when they stiffed y'all on y'all's contracts, but y'all did not walk out when the Palestinian trade unions asked y'all to walk out? And they were unable to provide an answer. Like, get a bag is literally the line of a lot of these people. That's why I laugh at all these people that are constantly tailing and talking about unions, because in many cases, these unions are either guilds, like a lot of the trades, or they're basically just piggy banks for a certain substratum of white dudes to make, like, make money off of. Like there's no politics, and we have to guide and promote the working class in this country to actually become a class for itself. And a lot of people do not understand what that really means. They always talk about Marx. They meme about Marx, but they really do not get what OG was saying. He was saying that your consciousness is a major part of what determines whether you are on the proletarian road or whether you're on the bourgeois road. Like you can make $0 a year, yet you can entertain bourgeois delusions. So a lot of people they're extremely undialectical about class, and they don't want to be any more dialectical. They just want to try to use it as a weapon, a sort of Damocles hanging over people's heads.
Yeah, sorry about earlier. The Mossad got me.
You're all right, Pablo.
I was gonna say, yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think the issue with some of our comrades' politics and some of the organization's politics is that we don't recognize that white-centered organizing isn't just like a face, right? It's an action. It's something that anyone can do. When I started organizing at UCF, I had just joined. I was in our general Discord chat, and someone talked about joining to reform Lockheed Martin. Our school is one of the biggest like Lockheed Martin schools.
All you got to do is say, look, I would have respected that person a lot more if they said, look, fuck what y'all talking about. I want this $175,000 a year job. I would have respected them a lot more.
Genuinely trying to genuinely convince us of this position. And, I realized at that point, man, y'all got to read. Y'all have to read. Like, nobody reads anymore. You know what I mean? Nobody understands anything
What book is going to make somebody turn down $175,000 a year job?
Honestly, they could start with Capital Volume 1. I think that right there will help them. Or quotations from Chairman Mao. That'll also help them. Combat liberalism. That one will definitely get them to stop. But it's just like, some of us really have to, start to realize that political education isn't just about how we do things, right? It's about the people that we interact with. How can you understand what it's like to be a Latin American, to be a person of color, to be a black person, to be a brown person, to be any other shade other than white, if you haven't even read about our struggle? We've detailed it. We've talked about what needs to be done, and you guys aren't reading about it. You guys are ignoring what needs to happen.
I was born a poor white child. Thank God I was not. I was born a poor black child.
I think a big thing is too, is during the debate, something had like really struck me. And it was that one of the candidates had brought up labor union organizing, and they said specifically, I think a lot of us are proposing things on the NCC that we don't have experience doing, but some of us do have experience union organizing. And I think right here, right, that lack of experience is actually a good thing, right? The fact that we don't have an experience around white-centered organizing, the fact that we've had these successes as people of color in our own in building solidarity with our working class comrades and our white comrades who have stood alongside us shows us that we have the capability to build up those power. My mother is an educator, right? She comes from a teaching background. I live in Florida. I work with the unions here, right? I organize with UFF. My mother is a Cuban immigrant, right? She came here. She was born poor, right? She stayed poor, right? She's been poor all her life. She's a teacher in Broward schools, right? She's poor, right? They can't unionize. They can't like strike. They have unions, but they can't go on strike. They're not able to really fight for what needs to happen. So
the union won't let them go out on strike.
Exactly. The union won't let them go out on strike.
Doesn't sound like a real union then.
We have to
We have to listen to the state's laws. And the thing is what do you do for someone like that? What do you do for someone who comes from an immigrant or person of color, working background, right? Comes to this country, is trying to fight for change, and they can't go through these avenues that are more accessible to white people and not people of color, right? And I think that's a big issue that our organization is not willing to address, especially when it comes to the fact on how we organize. We are so centered around Starbucks workers, around other unions, and we do good work with those unions. Those are things that we should maintain doing. But what about the migrant class, right? What about the literal like proletariat here that is extracted the most and literally under the most amount of threat right now, more than anyone else? What about them? What's going to happen with them? And why are our organizers not having that conversation? Why are our organizers so afraid to just be up and speak about it? And I was telling the Global Majority Caucus about this earlier, but I because you referenced Lenin earlier, and I kind of wanted to bring this up. But Bolshevik in Russian means the majority caucus, right? And I think of us like the Bolsheviks sometimes because we we come out of a bourgeois intelligentsia background, right? Where students, right?
If we're the Bolsheviks, who's Lenin?
Honestly, I told Riza this. I was like, Lenin was born a Russian man, but right now I need him to be a brown woman. And Riza, you need to take the chair. Riza is our Lenin, and I'm so proud of her to have her as our chair. It's so great to have her. That's our Lenin. But yeah, we are you can call us the socialist, the global Bolshevik slate, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change what's going on. We're trying to actually organize instead of just talk about it and hop on Zoom calls and, do nothing for like an entire year and then just spend $100 million.
$100 million from who? Wait, y'all got it like that?
No. That's just DSA in general. I was talking about the big DSA.
Where the hell we get $100 million from? I ain't seen none of it.
Yeah. We get a lot of money, and we have
all the people I brought in
DSA.
Y'all, all the people I brought in the DSA, y'all got $100 million, and y'all ain't broke bread, motherfuckers. I'm gonna go join PSL. I heard they got some money. Anyways, no, the fuck I'm not. I'd rather eat this fucking stinky ass house shoe. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Yeah, to like also piggyback off of like what Pablo just said about the comment that was made during the debate, we also have to think about like, okay, yeah, sure, you have experience in labor organizing, but what does that labor organizing look on the face? Let's be real. And then like, not to do the identity politics that they love to claim that we're doing, but it's the fact of the matter that like all of our identities truly like shape us. I grew up poor, working class. I'm Black as hell. I'm a woman. I struggled in life, and that has informed my politic, and that's like some important shit to bring to the table, just like what Pablo said, like how his mom can't even go on strike because there's like laws and shit that where you can. But where's the labor people at there? They aren't like saying or doing anything that kind of meet them where they're at. They're not like offering like other options and things like that. And that's what I see reflected in YDSA a lot, is that the labor organizing starts and ends in the UAW, the Starbucks union, the Amazon union, but it doesn't go any further than that. And they also ignore the large working class of like people. And of the fact of the matter is that like, in order to like, also because they'll say, oh, we don't have capacity to do XYZ. In order to even like build that capacity, we have to have like major buy-in. There ain't gonna be no buy-in if we can even show and represent like what we like can actually do, our plans and things like that. That's why we have a lack of HBCUs. That's why we have a lack of community colleges. That's why you don't see no organizing around Black August. That's why you don't see no organizing around all the Black people that have been killed. The prisoner strikes. We should have been big up in the prisoner strikes. That can be a simple ass fucking Instagram post. Solidarity with the prisoners striking. Solidarity in Cuba. But the work really is like very small and short, if there is work, or it's just very much non-existent because that's just not in front of their mind. Like I said before, our identities are an afterthought to them, and it's up to us to put that shit on the forefront.
Definitely agree, Ange. I agree with everything you said.
I think to add on to that, like a lot of people of color in our organization feel like a quota because they bring us into these spaces, but there's no resources or tools to actually help us, whether it's at winter convention or winter conference. And like winter conference took place during Ramadan, no food accommodations made for Muslims fasting. Like just basic things like that, that like show that like it's not just whiteness and demographic, but whiteness in terms of strategy and decision making. Like there's a reason that the majority of DSA's budget goes to labor and electoral work than grassroots organizing. There's a reason why on that debate, you heard from a lot of people that mutual aid wouldn't work, that we shouldn't do mutual aid because it would be soup kitchens over Zoom. There's just a fundamental disconnect between like an understanding of just like what mutual aid is and how that's implemented in chapters and why it should be implemented in chapters. But there's also just like a racial lack of understanding where you see white people saying that like mutual aid is critical, especially to bringing in Black and brown folks into this organization. I have implemented mutual aid in our student life campaign at my university, and it works. Like there was a $71 million surplus that my university had. And during that time, the university, like Purdue University, cut public health, transportation. They gutted the liberal arts department. The president of our university is a Chinese international student. They banned the admissions of Chinese students on our campus. They were in talks of removing the cultural centers. There's brown and mold in all of the dorms. Like we are teaching our general members in YDSA to like dorm canvas and do mutual aid. Like we're trying to get funding so that way we can have lead and mold tests. So our members, our comrades can go door to door and be like, hey, we're YDSA. Would you want a free lead check to make sure the water you're drinking is safe? Like that is what brings people in, especially on my campus in a deep red state where like it's disproportionately white. Like socialism is an incredibly charged word at Purdue, in Indiana. It's super important that we don't water down our message, but we make it digestible for our audiences. And a huge aspect of that is mutual aid. It's also direct action. When we tried to pull off our direct action on our campus, no resources or tools from National. We had to go to another organization. We had to go to Sunrise to get a risk assessment from them, to get like tools on how to bird dog the president of our university. Things like that are critical, especially because I think we're at a really critical point in history right now where like conditions are getting worse, not just within this country, but like abroad. There are only so many Palestinians left. Rafah has been blown off the map. I've been to Delaney Hall. I've spoken to organizers on the ground. I've spoken to the Martin Soto's wife. Like they were literally being fed worms in Delaney Hall. That's why they went on a labor and hunger strike. That lead main organizer was put in solitary confinement. Like there are concentration camps in our literal backyards. And it's like, it's ridiculous to me that like our organization is failing to meet the moment, especially when it comes to Black and brown people in this country. And when it comes to the recognition of Palestinians and our comrades abroad, like there's a boot on our neck, but then we are the boot on the neck of the people in the global South. And it's so critical that we have organizers that understand that are not just anti-racist, but anti-capitalist and anti-imperialist. That's why we're running on this slate, because when push comes to shove and we're talking to like other candidates, whether it's in these debate spaces, no one is willing to address that people of color are leaving this organization. How are we going to win when our organization is 4% Black? The closest we've ever been to a revolutionary force in this country was the Black Panther Party. We need our Black and brown comrades. And I was a DSA staffer. I worked as an intern. I've phone banked and spoken to chapter leaders, especially our BIPOC ones. They have literally told me they don't want to come to convention anymore. They don't want to come to conference anymore because A, they can't afford it, B, because of the microaggressions, because there's just a lack of advocacy and representation. There are people of color, there were comrades of color telling me we should leave and start our own organization. It's just come to a point where like there is no time. The cost is too high and we need to start organizing with an understanding of that. So yeah.
No crumbs. All right. Well, we're almost at an hour. So what advice do y'all have? I ask people this anytime I run across YDSA comrades. What advice do you have for us in Big DSA? We have a convention coming up next year. What are some of the things that you all would like to see us in DSA do? I'm gonna quit saying little DSA and big DSA because a lot of people fail to understand, like, y'all are fucking adults. Y'all are not like little kids. Like, y'all are basically grown men and women. So what would you like to see from DSA?
I would like to see y'all not abandon y'all's anti-imperialist, decolonial stances. I feel like when we like now AOC is in the conversation, people are like, guys, we gotta hurry up, we gotta be first. It's like, okay, but let's slow our roll for a second. Let's see how this will impact. Will she even deliver on like what we think she will? Like, just because she's like still a member, just because she met with a couple people, that could just be lip service. Let's go based off of the actions that she has done in the past before we make this like big decision on where we're going to put all of our capacity, where we're going to put all of our funding. And also, who are we abandoning? Our struggles are not just meeting the moment. These are real life struggles that is a constant thing that happens, and somebody's going to pick up the work. And also, people are just not going to fuck with y'all just as much because of the abandonment of Black Lives Matter, of Palestine. Let's not just keep doing the same thing. So just please don't abandon them stances.
Okay. Comrade Patrick has a question. He would like to know about organizing YDSA community colleges. So if any of you comrades have that experience or some pointers, that would be very helpful to the comrade.
I would speak on this. So I think that well, let me gather my thoughts really quick. I spoke with the author of R27, Danny. He's the person that wrote it, and he's actually one of the people in Springs Revolution that we are, aligned with and cross-endorsing. And I was talking to him, and I was telling him, I was like, I went to a community college. I can't speak for the rest of the members of my slate, but I went to a community college, and I think that I remember the local DSA chapter coming and tabling at the community college. But I remember talking to Danny about that, and I remember telling him how there are just too many dispositions that community colleges and minority colleges too, but specifically for Patrick's question about community colleges, there are way too many dispositions that they are at that kind of hinders their ability to fluctuate. It kind of hinders their ability to like move as like an actual like YDSA chapter, and a lot of it starts with like the rules that we have within the YDSA itself. So Danny was telling me from his chapter, he goes to Harper Community College. It's in like I looked it up on Google. It's called like a village. It's a village in Illinois. And so he was telling me about how it was a really small chapter at first, and how he was only able to get like I think he said that there were about like 3 people one time, and he didn't have like a full steering committee. And also a lot of people that are at these community colleges, their demographics don't really represent what's going on at these other, 4-year universities, and like what's going on in their chapters. And one of the things that he had written about raising the age limit for, YDSA. And no shade, like sometimes I talk about, damn, there's a lot of old folks in YDSA, like that Y, they're really pushing that Y. Like they really push it. But I realized my ignorance. I really realized my ignorance. No shade, I had that conversation with Daniel. I was like, you're right. And I was thinking about when I was at community colleges, and he asked me like what the demographic was. And I mentioned it is like 2 of the groups of people that we don't really see represented that well in YDSA. And you have like younger students. Like I think at the time I was like a particularly young community college goer, because, I'm coming out of high school. I think I was in high school for a portion of it before I went on and went to a transfer to a 4-year university. You have super young people. Sometimes they're high schoolers doing like dual credit and stuff. And then you have older people who are not at that like 18 to 21 age group. You have older people in college. So raising one of the person, I think that's why that he had put in that for amendment to the YDSA like in their rules and stuff. And I think it's a very particular within minority colleges. It's a very particular organizing, a very particular work that you have to do with them that I would love to see on the NCC. Similar to like our HBCUs, we only have one within the organization, but their staffer, oh my gosh, I don't want to misspeak, but their staffer no longer, like they don't have a staffer anymore. And it hinders their ability to work as a chapter and have like that relationship to national. I think that if all these other chapters have an advantage by being close to national, you know, their point person is friends with a co-chair who does like, yeah, sorry, I'm reading the comments. Their co-chairs like tend to have like closer relationships with the people working on the NCC, and sometimes there is like this thing of like favoritism within the NCC and the chapters that they work with. It may not be always like deliberate or like intentional, but it does exist. And I think that with that and working closely with these chapters, first we have to start with there's actually, it's not only one. I was under the impression there's only one community college within YDSA. Now I think we're at about 2 or 3, but I think it starts with genuinely what we've all been working on. It starts with listening to the people that attend community colleges. You know, there are people at these community colleges that are trying to organize, but they are at like certain dispositions as in their areas of development, and it's super hard on them. And I think we just had a meeting with a bunch of delegates from a school in Missouri. And we mentioned like our commitments to organizing within like HBCUs and community colleges.
Which school? In Missouri?
Mizzou.
Okay, yeah, I know
Mizzou.
a lot of those comrades.
Yeah. So someone at Mizzou said, like, I would love to like talk more about that. I actually need to reach out to her soon because she was like, I'd love to hear more about that because, you know, I attended a community college, and it's so many people that like, oh yeah, I started off at a community college, or oh, I attended a community college. But then that's also included in our, how are we recruiting and how are we retaining, you know, non-worker student youth? It's all about that minority member within the organization. And I would specifically regarding like my campaign, I do want to, that is like a part of a big part of my campaign and my platform is like working intimately with those chapters, because even in, I'm rambling, but like even a chapter, another, like a neighboring, there's only like 3 schools in Kansas, University of Kansas. They're at this disposition in their chapter where they're not able to be recognized as official because their rules collide, like their university rules collide with YDSA rules, you know. So, you know, there's problems in like accepting there's problems in accepting dues from members because, you know, their school doesn't allow it. And you know say like, well, we don't want to lie or something because it would reflect poorly on us. But it's stuff like that. And I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, that is a priority of mine, is working closely with those chapters. And I would love to like offer them that like specific assistance in developing them and growing them into the YDSA and growing them as chapters, because especially it's stuff that I didn't see when I went to a community college. And I know that if I would at my community college, if I knew that we had a like a functioning YDSA, like a developed YDSA, or even like a developed way that was in like in the works. If I heard whispers of a YDSA, I'd be like, oh yeah, let me get in that. But like it's just certain stuff. Like at Danny's at Harper College, he was talking about how they're only allowed to table like once a week, and how he was talking to some people how they're only allowed to table once every 3 weeks, or it's some bullshit like that. And it's always something. It's always something. And I think that we don't really offer these smaller chapters, these minority chapters, that grace, nor are we really like involved in what's going on, like what their current like positions and what their current like circumstances are. And I think that as an NCC, we should be more mindful of that. And I think that we should be developing those chapters that we have, but also recruiting those other types of minority chapters. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to like what Max said. If I'm voted on NCC, I would like to create like, you know, trainings dedicated towards community colleges and HBCUs, because like not every training is like all encompassing and like can fit like every situation. But I feel like if we make like one dedicated to each of those groups, we can see a lot better retainment. And also, I just feel like not enough care and patience have been towards community colleges and HBCUs. The fact of the matter, like what Mac had said, there's a lot of issues at these community colleges of being able to charter because of like roles at their institutions, the age limit and stuff. So if we literally just have much more of a deeper commitment towards them, it will be a lot easier for them. But if we literally like subconsciously like don't care, then it's going to show through our actions, and these schools feel very unsupported by us, even though they non-student workers make up most of the youth working class. And even though like yeah they graduate within like 2 years and stuff like that, they are actually much more prime and ripe for May Day 2028 and getting them like organized when it comes to like labor efforts. And it's just like I don't know. I just feels like it's more of like a cultural issue within YDSA of not, having enough patience for those chapters, because it's like if they really wanted to, they will get involved. And it's like, no, we actually have to extend that arm. We have to extend that olive branch, meet them halfway if we want to see like all these plans come to fruition. And I think that really starts with the YGDC laying out a framework that best supports them. YGDC being growth and development.
Okay, awesome. Do any of my fellow liberation comrades have any questions for the global majority comrades? Or are y'all just here to ear hustle? Not a word.
These comrades have been saying some good stuff. I've just been listening to them. Like I had a couple questions, but like listening to them cook is just like I'm like, oh man, I wish that like I had a tenth of the ferocity like here locally.
I have questions, but I don't know enough about YDSA to like ask them. Like how does like Bread and Roses? And it's like a general question. Like how did Bread and Roses and Reform Revolution get such a big like sway in YDSA? Like to me, they're now I'm also dismissive of Trotskyists, but to me, I just want to. I'm not able to like understand like how these like strong labor right factions are going to get such a prevalence in a youth version of DSA. That's just my thing. I'm sorry if I word that wrong, but I don't have enough experience.
On the current NCC, I believe there's like maybe like 2 or 3 Bread and Roses members on there, and one of them is like very notable in their community, like within Florida, and also like just of the wins that they have had on NCC is because of this member, so it has like created more buy-in for them. I also think a lot of it has to do with the fact of like a lot of members are like deep in labor organizing. Like that is like very much like when you first join YDSA, that is like very much is what is promoted. And so that's like first the people's like first intro into YDSA is like labor organizing. And a lot of members, have wins, and I love that for them, but not every place is the same condition as the next. Like here at Cincinnati at UC, professors cannot strike even though they have a union. It's literally written in their contract that they cannot strike. Student workers consist of mostly international students and students who like are doing it for like fast food reasons, so they also can't strike or form a union. So it's like things like that where it's like it's not the same across every chapter, but there's quite a few chapters who were able to like make student worker unions happen, and that has grown over the past few years. So that's where they have more buy-in, and I believe they also have more buy-in because of their like internationalism type work that they've been doing. Some people call it third campism. I'm not going to say where I lie on that, but they have gotten more buy-in when it comes to like quote unquote anti-imperialist efforts, even though it kind of lacks, I believe, in Bread and Roses. I ain't gonna say too much because I don't want them to attack me.
Yeah, there you go. Like you're already talking like an NCC at large member, and Reza is basically the image of a co-chair. Like that's the thing. Like when leadership, like a lot of people understand. Like okay, you can shit post and meme about other factions, but like when you're actually in a position where you are supposed to represent everybody and work for everybody, like you definitely can have your own views. Like if comrades elect me to the NPC next year, they're going to know that like okay, BRG's a Maoist. But when you get to be in these positions, you cannot like oppress or downgrade or like habitually insult, because like people will use that against you. And I'm really, really glad, Angela, that you Angel, that you said that, because like a lot of people, they get in these positions, DSA right especially, and they basically just go hog ass, well, stupid ultras, and like you can't do that. Like you cannot make people feel excluded. You cannot you can definitely have political disagreements with people, but like you have to respect your comrades. So yeah, really, really glad that you mentioned that.
I think
Uh,
that every
go ahead.
organization has its like left and right, and like on like our honest take, like my honest take is that like there's a lot of cracked organizers in YDSA, like people that have done some like really cool shit, whether it's like labor wins, electoral, or like BDS campaigns, things like that. There's some really cracked organizers. And I have the utmost respect for everyone in this organization. But the problem is that like when there becomes caucuses, especially when there's like a very distinct left and right, as there is in our organization, a lot of the like organizing suddenly becomes internal, and like everything becomes like, okay, there's this amount of seats, but this many are in this caucus, this many are in this caucus. If you want to pass anything, you better get this one to like you, even though they disagree with you on this one point. Like everything all of a sudden becomes some sort of political game. And I think that was my biggest frustration, that like when I got tapped into national, I was like, why does everyone hate each other? Like this kind of sucks. Like it doesn't feel like there's this comradely culture where
That's
like
actually like in every chapter that's like not heavy on caucuses. Whenever they start hanging out with people like me, who are like basically national sickos, they're like, Jesus Christ, y'all are fucking pricks to each other. I guess it's like being a small town alderman and then somehow finding your way in Congress. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is how the big boys act. Why did I come here?
yeah. And I think that like one of our advantages is that we're uncaucused. Like when it comes to that sort of decision making and being on
now.
NCC. Yeah. When it comes to that sort of decision making, like what we are committed to is building a militant, multiracial student movement. Like we understand what it's like having like coalition building, because we've done it within our own chapters. Like I entered my own chapter as the only person of color. I literally had to outreach every single POC club, every single cultural center. And this is just like a universal experience that so many people face within their chapters. And it's important that like something that we want to do is like literally give every single chapter like the tools and resources they need to win on their campuses. I think a lot of the times, like local YDSA chapters and their relationships with like national YDSA is really transactional. It's like, okay, if you're not doing the campaign that we want you to do, then like we're just going to check in with you when it's most convenient for us. And oftentimes it's like a checklist. Like, okay, so did you meet this demand? No. Okay, like see you next time. Like there's no actual tools or knowledge or like strategic ball game. Like when I led my encampments, I had to learn that all on my own. Like when I was working with my RA union, I had to do that all on my own. When I got hit with charges, it was SJP, JVP. It was those allies that helped me out, that got me in contact with the ACLU. We didn't have those sorts of resources. And I think especially like as material conditions get worse in this country, I think Jeffrey really touched on it. Like we need bail funds. We need more mutual aid. We need to be teaching our chapter members how to think strategically when it comes to like getting their demands met, whatever like campaign that may be. But like right now on our campus, I just graduated from Purdue and I left my chapter with over 50 dues paying members. And I'm super excited because they've been doing a campaign for like over a year and now they're ready to escalate. Like we're teaching them we're like, I have a co-chair who wants to teach them to do self-defense trainings because that's where we've gotten to as a chapter. And that's critical. Like these are skills and strategies every chapter member needs, because there will be a time where we need to stand arm in arm with one another. And it comes to a point where like all of us, like we're not associated with caucuses because like our commitment is to something much greater. It's to this movement. Yeah. Does anyone else want to say anything? Does anyone else?
Real quick. I have Pablo on the line
Oh my god.
and wants to stack.
They got you. They got you, Pablo. Oh no.
I'm on the FaceTime right now. I just wanted to stack on that. Yeah, I completely agree, Riza, and I think that's a big reason that our slate is gonna win. In our letter, when we addressed that, I said it. I wrote this part, and I kind of wanted to make it clear. A lot of people are afraid of us, and I think it's because they know that some of us are looking for a change in the organization. And that starts with building better relationships with your comrades. The truth is that some of y'all don't know how to be friendly. Y'all don't know how to be friends. Like, you guys need to learn how to,
I sure as fuck don't. I don't have no friends. I hate all these motherfuckers.
Be respectful to each other when it comes to organizing in a certain capacity and learning to, work to get shit done. A lot of the stuff that our opponents have been pushing are criticisms of us, and no solutions to the problems that we are presenting. And they want to maintain the status quo because it's comfortable for them. But some of us don't have that opportunity. Part of the reason that I became, a member of the DSA is because I started learning about, Cuba and my people and our revolution and what's going on overseas right now. And right now we are at a very critical point in our country. And if we as Americans don't organize to stop the imminent threat of imperialism here and everywhere, we are going to fail as an organization. And we need to start taking ourselves more seriously and being better disciplined comrades. And I think that starts with building better relationships with the people around you, even the people, who dislike you, and being honest with them, and being able to communicate effectively without being tone police about the way we speak. Some of our members were very upset. Like, some of the members of the YDSA were very upset at some of the comments that we made in retaliation to our comrades. And my response to that is just, that was so soft. And like, we could have said so much more, but we have to stay, quiet about these things. We're constantly getting tone policed about the way that we speak about the stuff that's going on with us. And we want to be real with our comrades. We want to establish relationships that are friendly, but that starts with, effective communication. And our current NCC has not been able to do that. And I think that we as a slate are dedicated to this outside of just the NCC run. We're dedicated to this as a movement. And whenever we're talking to chapters, we're talking to them about specifically what their needs are and what they want the NCC to look and how we can help them with that. And a lot of chapters aren't getting that from the NCC that maintain the status quo. They're just getting the options that they've already been given, and people want something new. And I think that that's why the global majority slate is necessary for the YDSA, because I think it's going to bring that.
Okay, thanks. My arm was hurting.
Okay. One final question from Patrick. How should YDSA chapters relate to the struggles that their campus is in if they live outside of college towns?
Just had to get one last thing in.
I can start, if that's okay. How should YDSA chapters relate to struggles in the communities and their campus is in? Bro, I've been banking on this since the minute I have been in YDSA. I have been in YDSA since 2022. I've started in Columbus, organizing with Black Men Build, and just out there. And then in Cincinnati, I organized with Black Power Initiative, Food Not Bombs, and of course, UC YDSA. And my whole thing was why am I not seeing Black people here? Why are we so depoliticized here? And I wanted to bring that to the forefront. And what that has caused is for me to get super involved in the community, because we are literally gentrifiers. If you go to a big school in a city, you're actively gentrifying the area that you're in. And it's up to us to, kind of better conditions that we are putting people under, whether that's through Red Aid or politicizing the people there and like being like that kind of like advocacy resource. But it's just like very much necessary because there's a lot of like revolutionary potential because of the fact of people who are around us contains like non-student youth, and like also the fact of like we need to have more buy-in outside of universities. We are very university centered, and so it kind of scares people away with like organizing with us that is like in the city that aren't already organized. And they see us they're like, okay, y'all mostly do this stuff on a college campus. This don't really got nothing to do with us. So that includes making our meetings publicly known, having socials and stuff outside of the university, and also having Red Aid opportunities where we're politicizing people that we live around, and also helping with their immediate needs.
Can I say something on this really quick, just to add on to Angel? Real quick, I was not smacking my lips at Patrick's question. I was just laughing at Pablo because I thought he had something else to say with Angel over the phone. Anyways, I literally always tell my chapter this. I tell them all the time because, you know, before I joined the chapter, it was a bunch of white guys sitting in a circle reading theory. And I told the co-chair at the time, I was like, y'all need to get in the field. So to answer your question, Patrick, I think y'all need to get in the field. Not y'all, but they need to get in the field. And I think that sitting around being so, I wonder what Lenin would say about this. You know, you need to get in the field and do what Lenin would do about that, you know? And I think that it's, for our chapter, I definitely steered that strategy and steered that way of like how they implemented that within our chapter. Not with just outreach and, you know, telling you guys like, hey, why aren't you guys talking to any of like the multicultural organizations? You know, why are you talking to them like you need something from them? And like I said, it can be so transactional. And I will not shy away from the fact that my chapter did used to be like that. And I think that I did aid in like helping them steer away from that. But like, for example, I know like it takes being in the field and knowing what's going on. And I think a lot of like our chapter continued to be affluent in like our campaigns and the stuff that we were doing because they did not reach community needs. When we were doing, you know, we did pass out some stuff like for mutual aid. We did like some events for that, but we were passing out bullshit, you know. But however, the county that I'm not going to disclose what the bullshit was, but the county that our school is located in has the highest amount of opiate overdose usage within like the entire state. And so we had like this like campus holiday, and we passed out over 200 things of Narcan. And I think it's stuff like that. And we spent the entire day, we spent hours out there educating people on how Narcan works. And it's stuff like that. That's a very minuscule example, but it had a large impact. And I think that we were even able to sway a few people because they're like, oh, what would I ever need that for? And I was like, you never know. You never know. And then I told them that statistic about Riley County, Kansas. I said, it has the highest amount of opioid usage and opioid overdose. And I said, this is stuff that you need to know. And we had a lot of out of towners because we have it's called fake patties. So it's like fake St. Patrick's Day because our spring break is the week of St. Patrick's Day. So we have a bunch of people from all over, like their friends' colleges. They're coming in town to get drunk. They're coming in town to do drugs. You're going to see some crazy shit. I've seen it at that school, you know? And it's stuff like that. And I told my chapter, I was like, I'm in the field. I'm in the community. Why aren't we doing stuff that reaches the community needs? It's stuff like that. And now like our YDSA is sort of at a point where, you know, like if there's something that the community might need, or if a problem erupts on campus, I do think that people know to check the YDSA. It starts with, you know, everyone wants their nose in a book, but no one's actually applying what they're reading, you know? So I think that it starts with get out in the field, and it starts with opening up your community and open up who you think like your community is. And no shade, it starts with multiracial organizing. And I think that if we're forever, you know, white guys sitting, well, not me, but if we're forever, you know, white guys sitting around in a circle reading communist literature, I think that, you know, there's a black person that also likes to sit around in a circle and read communist literature, but they're doing different shit. So it starts with getting out in the field. So yeah, I meant to make that quick, but I just got too heated. But thank you for that question.
Okay. Go ahead, Ange. Was I muted? There's Ange muted. Yeah. Patrick says, "Thank you for your wonderful answers."
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. My computer started lagging. I didn't want to accidentally speak over anyone if anybody was speaking. Can y'all hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me fine, because my computer is super laggy. Can y'all hear me? Okay, cool. Yeah, the other point I wanted to add is that we also need to like tailor our campaigns to be like wider encompassing of the local area. A lot of pushback that I face when I'm like trying to organize like Black students on campus that like know about us but is very hesitant towards us is that like, okay, y'all are overwhelmingly white. I keep seeing like these white people like be mad about like all these things and stuff, but they're not immediately like harmed by any of it. And also like, what about us right now? What about our current conditions like right now where we at? And I push back because I try to make that connection of like, okay, like let's connect it to like the overarching, like, you know, we're already like over police and stuff, so ICE is like very pertinent towards us. There are Black immigrants and stuff like that, but I also really take heed of what they're saying. The fact of the matter is like, yeah, we don't really do enough in our local community to help with the harms and stuff that people are facing, and we should include them in our like campaign. um when it comes to like SB1 in Ohio, and then like also our President Pinto, fuck you, bitch. He like literally wasn't doing shit for trans students or students of color. Like our African American culture was like turned into something that it wasn't. They took away that name and made it all welcoming to like, because it was discriminatory. They took away our ethnic program, you know, support system, and they also added, they took away our gender neutral bathrooms like temporarily, but then they faced pushback, and so they put that shit back up. But the fact of the matter is that should be included in our campaign promise of like what encompasses all in the sanctuary campus campaign. It should focus on ICE and keeping ICE off campus, but it can mean so many, a plethora of other things that will create more buy-in, that will make people like want to be a part of us and work with us. And so yeah, we just gotta like include that in our campaign is my main point.
Okay, we are an hour and 30 minutes in. So is there anything that anybody wants to wrap up with? This was originally intended to just be an hour, but you all y'all are based. I really hope that well, as a Maoist, I keep telling people this, is a Maoist, I don't believe in hope. If you're Slate, if you comrades positions align with the majority of YDSA comrades, and you mobilize the masses of color and allies within the organization, I'm pretty confident that you all will do very well. So yeah. Any comrades from Liberation or the global majority want to wrap with anything?
We just wanted to say thank you guys all so much for watching, and thank you so much for having us on this stream. If you're a delegate, you should rank us in your top spots. If you're not a delegate, you should follow us at YDSA Global Majority and show us some love. We've been getting, yes, boiler up. We've been getting some pushback. We've been getting some haters in our comments. So any love you can show us, if you can repost our stuff, we would greatly appreciate that.
All right, comrades.
Oh yes, on R6.
Okay, yep. Awesome.
It was really nice meeting y'all.
All right, thanks for coming on, comrades.
Hope for these comrades.
I look forward to seeing y'all again, and look forward to seeing y'all again after y'all win. Anyways,
it was nice meeting y'all too.
Bye, everyone.
Toodles.